So in today's video, I'm going to bring you an absolutely deep cut out of my Minnesota Vikings offense. For those of you that struggle with the cover zero blitz or man pressure in particular, this is a great fail-safe option for you because a lot of players will not be able to stay in that cover zero pressure. All we're going to do here is we're going to come out in the bunch tight end formation. The reason I want this formation is because it is my base offense, which you guys can find on my strategy website, gridirongameplans.gg, link in the description. And what we're going to do is we're going to manually sub in a tight end at one of the three receiver positions. Now, for me personally, I prefer the point man of the bunch because that is a permanent blocker spot for the ever popular RPO bubble screen. So with this, I like to make sure that I have that tight end on the point, and then I put in my other two starting receivers at the two outside receiver positions on that bunch. This will give us ace personnel, which is two receivers, two tight ends, one running back, and it will allow us to audible into all of the different ace formations that are in this playbook. Now, for those that aren't aware of how good the Minnesota Vikings playbook is, I find it to be the best playbook in the game in three different categories of the game. The first is what I've already just talked about. It is the most complete bunch tight end in the game, being the only bunch tight end that has the play known as PA verticals. This play is unbelievable. I've done content before here on the channel. It's probably my favorite play in the game. For whatever reason, the play call data for this doesn't register. You see, I've got over 800 play calls in mesh, but I've done countless videos on this particular play. I freestyle out of it all game long, and this is the only playbook in the game that has this play, much less the fact that it also has the RPO bubble, which a lot of bunch tight end playbooks don't have. It has mesh. It also has whips. It's got inside cross, triple out. It really could just go to crazy work against any meta that you throw its way. But another area that the Minnesota Vikings offense is extremely elite is their ace personnel. In particular, you probably noticed the most recent MCS tournament, there were a lot of players that were running the Jets playbook for their quarterback run game. Well, the Minnesota Vikings offensive playbook has the best ace, in my opinion, and it has the run game out of the ace. So whether you're talking about the gun ace quarterback zone, or you're talking about the gun ace slot quarterback power that you saw at the tournament, or you're talking about the deuce close, which is what we're going to be breaking down today. This playbook is the best ace playbook in the game. It's probably the best red zone playbook in the game too, which is where games are truly won and lost. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the audibles we're going to set here. Now, the first one we're going to be setting in the gun deuce close is going to be the empty motion mesh rail. And then we're also going to utilize the empty motion tight end mid screen. This is actually really, really sneaky because your opponents will have a hard time dealing with the running back route. Chances are they'll check out a man, and this will become something that is really good as well. Now, on top of that as well, we are going to have the RPO peak stick. We'll get to that in this video as well. And if you guys like, you can have the RPO read flat wheel. I am not personally a fan of this. I think everybody prepares to defend this. So if you guys wish, you could go with something else, whether that is a regular run call. You could go ahead and set up really anything, truthfully, that you want with this. If you have a super mobile quarterback, do not sleep on that Y lead read option. So again, those are going to be our setups for this. And when we come out in our bunch tight end, we are going to be running the RPO bubble as our base call. If our opponent gives us a layup level throw, it's pretty simple stuff. We get the ball out to the perimeter. If they're playing man-to-man, sometimes that safety makes a play on this player, so you have to deviate from the plan. So again, a lot of times people are just going to come out, they're going to run some sort of zone. You're going to know right away the safeties are going to be further back. You're going to snap this ball, utilize that tight end blocker, and make your spin moves with a spin move receiver. You can get real nasty with this and potentially house call with this. Everyone knows this play. Everybody's prepared to defend this play, but I have a better way of running it. So again, make sure you check out gridirongameplans.gg. Now, when our opponents have a really good beat on this play, we want to deviate from the plan a little bit. So we want to get into something that absolutely smokes cover zero. Now, don't get me wrong, I could beat cover zero quite easily out of the bunch tight end, but sometimes you just want to put the game on easy mode. So we're going to audible into the gun deuce close. Now, keep in mind that we have the good plays that are just kind of their standard gun deuce close look, but we're going to be taking a look specifically at the empty mesh motion rail here. Now, when you audible from bunch left to empty motion rail, you will notice that the running back is going to go to the wide side of the field. I personally think that with this play, it is better off if you guys audible into it so the running back will align on the short side of the field. This is going to give us better positioning for him to run this auto motion route. So one thing that you might do if your opponent is giving you trouble out of mid blitz or man coverage in general is call your bunch tight end to the short side of the field. The reason you want to do this is that when you audible into this will audible into the deuce close flipped version of the play that we're audibling into. Thus the wide receiver, really the running back at wide receiver, goes to the short side of the field with the motion to the wide side. Now, when we talk about this play in particular, why is this such a good play to audible into? Well, first and foremost, most players, when they run mid blitz, they want to take the guy that's manned up on the running back and force you to block the running back by mugging over the middle. Well, that's not possible with a look like this. The other thing that you'll definitely notice with this is that when you go to this auto motion play, the man coverage does a really poor job of actually following this in any timely manner. You're going to see that it oftentimes gets stuck and gets picked. And this is just a simple throw out to the flat. And again, you're going to have a real easy time of throwing this out there. Your opponents are going to hate playing man-to-man against this. So when we basically talk about how do you beat the zero blitz out of this, it's quite effective just to run this auto motion play. Again, a lot of times I'll just make sure I have the other players on the left side of the field running anything vertical off the line. You just want to create traffic for that player. So again, you see right here, a lot of times this is just going to be an easy throw out to the flat. It's hike throw, and your opponents are really going to hate dealing with it. Okay, so that's kind of our first part with this. The second thing with this is that if your opponent really wants to play man-to-man out of this, you have the ability to kind of block either tight end. So even if you don't want to necessarily utilize that motion, maybe your opponent is kind of picking up on this, and you just want to kind of run this as a 5-out offense, you've got this empty bunch look with the potential to block either tight end as an extra protection. But let's say you don't even really want to run the auto motion here. So we're having this audible. Now our bunch is to the wide side of the field because we're not utilizing the auto motion to the short side of the field. We want to utilize the running back in our route concept. Well, first and foremost, when you take a look at this, you're going to see here that when your opponents play press, this is going to allow you to really create some interesting picks and switches. Sometimes you're going to have the press coverage whiff altogether, but more importantly, it makes it almost impossible to blitz. And the reason that I say that is if your opponent comes down and they're trying to take this particular player that is manned up on the left tight end, they're trying to guarantee their pressure. I don't have to block the left tight end. I could put Bowers on anything I want, including a quick pass wheel route out to the flat. And I could block the pressure with Taysom Hill here on the other side. Then from there, we're just freestyling. So if they hang out at all on this play, I could go quick to this flat here and we're able to pick up huge gains. So your opponent really can't guarantee pressure against this look because it is empty, it is compressed, which makes man coverage hard due to the picks and rubs. And you really can't guarantee that you're using the guy that is guarding the guy that's blocking the pressure. So again, if I were to audible into this look, you're going to notice quite easily here that I could just change up based off of who they user. So if they're coming down here, I know that I can send Bowers out on a route and block Taysom. But let's say they instead user this guy, I could go ahead and put Taysom on a route because he's going to be standing over the center and I could just block Bowers on this play. Now, again, keep in mind here with this is so annoying for a lot of people to defend, to basically have to run a pressure look. You can't get pressure on this because I have 7 players I can block. I only need 6. So again, when you take a look at this here, if they are hanging out here, I'm just going to throw the ball quick out here while picking up the pressure. You cannot sit in a cover 0 against this look. You're going to have to kind of color the field or play more of a zone look, which brings me to the other look here with this. So let's say they are running zone. You can audible into this auto motion, and what you're going to do is you're going to use the tight end screen. Chances are their user is going to freak out towards the flat because of the fact that it is an auto motion play. And a lot of times with this, you're just going to throw the ball back over the middle to this tight end. So this is maybe a once a game call, but again, watch how this sets up so well and he catches the ball and your line just blocks over the middle. A lot of times, if you don't have that auto hurdle, you're going to be off to the races. And for what it's worth, you could also still run the tight end screen against the blitz if you want. You just got to be careful and make sure that you're getting bodies on the player that's guarding the tight end. That could be a house call as well with that. And of course, the other thing that you can still do against zone is hit this peak stick play. Let's say that maybe your opponent is playing a little, cover 3 zone. You force them out of the man-to-man look by running that empty stuff. You now have the ability with this to run the hot routable version of this play, which a lot of times you're going to be able to throw the ball immediately off the line to this player. So this is not the same as the gun deuce close RPO read flat wheel, but it's similar in terms of how it behaves. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's little mini breakdown. The gun deuce close is something that I actually sparingly use. I spend a lot of my time in the ace slot and the under center single back deuce close, but you guys can add this to the entire ace game plan that I have out of the Minnesota Vikings. You add that into our bunch tight end game plan, our tight Y off and Y off weak game plan. This is one of the best playbooks top to bottom, and there's a big time reason that a lot of pro players are starting to pay attention to Minnesota Vikings playbook. So you make sure you go check it out on the website. Otherwise, subscribe right here to the channel. I'll see you guys right back here tomorrow with our next video upload. Until then, this is Zan. Get the lab and good luck.